Alrighty guys, welcome back. Let's just jump into the second game, Greeter against Grubby immediately. And before we do that, I have to say, Dan, sometimes you're awesome. Dan, like my colleagues are really nice, and Prodan just decided to be a really nice guy. And without actually me asking for it, he decided to bring me some food, which is really awesome, but now I can smell it as well, and now it makes me extra hungry. And I was like, oh, and I was trying to eat something real quick in that break. But it didn't really work out. So Greetorp and Grubby exchanging some friendly words. Greetorp is going to scout. He's going to scout this game that he's going to have to deal with the Gateway Expand build, which is of course a little bit different as well. And what most Zergs do immediately is get a much quicker extractor, which Greetorp perhaps already decided to do. But he just pretty much started mining gas, so he just wants to get quick speed. This is something that we saw guys like Live do as well at the recent MLG. Even though it's not all that recent anymore, but it's just a safer build from Zerg. And certainly if you have to deal with a little bit of early game pressure, it just helps you out a lot. I thought this was a super awesome game, and Greetorp is going to once more display the same style. This is what I want to highlight. And Grubby gets a little bit more fortunate than Krolu did. Grubby also played a lot better, but still, it just shows really the power of this thread later on. Is something I want to focus on. Despite going for Gateway Expand, Grubby did not decide to go for any sort of crazy aggression, which is definitely not something you have to do. Grubby didn't even really scout yet, but unlike Krolu, Grubby immediately is going to use those as hallucinated phoenixes, as of course he wants to make sure that he doesn't have to deal with Muda straight up, because if that would be the case, well, he already has a Stargate, but he would definitely be producing way more phoenixes than he eventually would. Greetor was running around with a couple of speed links. Of course, when you open up like this, certainly how Grubby is doing right now, Stargate and Robo, that also means that you won't be able to take this base very early on. It's not something that you can take at the 9-minute mark when you barely have any units. Greetorp is still going to go up to 3 bases, quite standard, but it's still a little bit slower than it would have normally been, as obviously normally this hatch would have been done around the 5-minute mark. Greetorp is going to sacrifice an Overlord, he's going to see the Phoenixes, he's immediately going to drop 5 spores, so definitely not taking half measures. And after this, once more, he's going to make those Hydralisk we want to talk about, and after that, we're once more going to see the Mutalisk play. Grubby slowly but steady clearing this area out with his Mothership Core. Of course, wants to go up to 3 bases, but wants to be safe. See Phoenix is harassing. I really like Phoenix openings. It is still kind of thing my go-to build if I feel that I really want to win a game. It's just something I feel the most safe with, so it makes a lot of sense. Greetor making a lot of links right now, perhaps hoping that Grubby would have been greedy and take this base too quick, something I often do, and then I get punished for it. But Grubby seeing all these links leaving as well, of course, that already means that he's not going to be silly and he's not going to take this base too quick. What I do like as well, despite Greetor making quite a few units, he is still expanding. He's only on 56 drones right now, which is not too insane, but it's still enough to potentially fight off any form of aggression, and if it's not coming, you can already saturate the base a little bit quicker. Grubby making 4 Phoenixes, so a lot of people asking like, is it really worth it for Greetor already to make this Spire? Yes guys, it is, because 9 out of 10 Protoss, well more like 99 out of 100 Protoss will only make 4 to 6 Phoenixes. 6 is even a lot, 4 is more like a magic number, and after that already starting to worry about the big ground push. Grubby is doing a really good job being active with those Phoenixes. He's going to see these Hydralisk wiggle in as well, so now he knows he's going to have to deal with Hydras. Probably going to drop a Robo Bay real soon. But what I really like actually of Grubby, this is something that I thought was super cool, this is something that I would never have the guts for to do, is moving out in the phase of the game like this. Of course he has a Mothership Core, he can always recall, but it's so hard to be active with your Phoenixes, as you can still see those flying around, be active of this army, expand during all this, and keep your macro going. That's something that is really pretty damn tough to pull all off at the same time. Greetor right now has quite a few Hydras, he has 21, he's going to make a few more. Of course Hydra so awesome against both Stargate and Gateway units, as long as there's no Colossus or Storm, but Storm even in a lesser degree in my opinion, Hydralisk are just fantastic. Grubby tries to see what's going on over here, he sees a lot of Hydras, so obviously the last thing that he would expect right now is a big Muda transition. He's going to drop a couple of force fields here, he's going to even be able to pick off this hatchery. I still like that Greetor took it in the first place, despite it never doing anything for him. This is a push that's normally pretty uncommon. I guess the higher the players get, the more likely it is that they kind of make these sort of anti-timings, which work so well because they both know that the players are good. It's unlikely they run into a really big army because Greetor was most likely more focusing on his economy and eventual transitions. That Grubby is able to do something like this. Awesome stuff. But doesn't really hurt Greetor all that much. Instead, he's just going to expand over here. He still has a slight worker lead. And right now he didn't really make anything for a long time. He's still going to make Hydras because he's a little bit worried about this Immortal / Gateway army. Because just imagine if there is a pylon here and there are 8 gates behind this and suddenly 8 more Stalkers. This small poke army suddenly becomes a real army that could potentially finish a game. During all this, Greeter was going to try to make a small Zergling run by. Grubby being really cute, picking up those Zealots before the additional reinforcements arrive. Small, cute moves. But despite all this and despite those 4 Phoenixes, which Grubby have stayed on for a while, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that because he saw an insane amount of Hydras, so why would you want to make 6 to 7 Phoenixes more when you saw so many Hydras? Or I mean go up to 6 to 7 Phoenixes. 7 Phoenixes more would end up to 11 Phoenix, that's a small overkill. So Greeter being active with these links, Grubby still having this army, of course he still has the potential to recall as well. But right now Greeter didn't make any units for a long amount of time. Despite only being on 3 bases, he still found the bank to make 19 Mutalisk, and that's such a crazy amount of Mutas. Grubby obviously does not expect this right now, and really can't blame him for it. He's been pretty active with his Phoenixes, but other than those Hydras for quite a while, he didn't really see anything. Of course, Zerg normally maxes out way quicker than Protoss, and if Greeter was maxed out in this phase of the game, he would probably be at least trying to look for a fight or do some serious pressure on this base. So I guess that's sort of a tell, but it's all so hard to really put together. And it's often one of those things that the moment you see it, you're like, ah, now it all makes sense. I don't know if you guys ever watch my stream when I play, but quite often it's like, hey, nothing's going on. It's like, I think he's going for a Muta transition, and then right on the moment that I actually start preparing for it, 15 Mutas fly in already, and obviously I get really mad and I lose the game. We all know that feeling. This time Grubby got a little bit fortunate though. He sees the army over here because A, this is a little bit fortunate, but B, that's also because Grubby is out on the map, so it's more likely that he's going to have more time to prepare. He's going to use recall, very smart, had a couple of Phoenixes, lost these a little bit too carelessly. And this already is going to trigger Greeter to just make more and more Mutas. If there are 6 Phoenixes and you know that they have the potential to produce more, I'm not sure if Greeter really wants to keep producing Mutas. But in this phase he's just like, alright, the only Phoenixes that were out on the map, I just took them out. I still have a big ground army. From this point on, my Mutas are going to pay for itself. And even if Grubby would eventually stabilize, he's going to keep Grubby on 3 bases for quite a while. Greeter has a better economy as he's on 4 bases. Oh my god, Greeter, what is this? You have 4 drones on your simulator. Not the end of the world. We do have to highlight this. Sorry, Andre, sorry. I really like what Andre was going to do over here. When he was going to poke with Hydras on the right side, still has these Hydras over here as well, just in case the army would somehow come from here. He could see it coming in time and still retreat. And at the same time, just fly in Mutas. Grubby, of course, knows that after losing those original Phoenixes, it is highly unlikely he's ever going to win a straight-up air battle, because if they would just keep producing air units, if there are 15 Mutalisk and you do not have a single Phoenix, it is just basically impossible to ever catch up in units. Even if you start eventually having 12 to 14 Phoenix, if you're going to have to fight with against 30 to 35 Mutalisk with Corruptors as well, it just doesn't really matter. So instead Grubby tried to go for High Templars. Of course Storms are really scary. The combination of Storms and Cannons is super scary for Mutas. But it's also something that's really hard when your economy is hurting. And take a look at the income tab right now, only 31 probes remaining. This is really something that's sort of inevitable once there are so many Mutas out on the map. Grubby realizing that these Immortals in a straight up fight are not going to help out all that much against Mutaling Hydralisk, so he keeps those Immortals over here, takes out the hatchery instead, and decides no time to waste. I'm gonna go for it immediately. Greeter, despite losing quite a few units here and there, realizes right now I have 27 Mutalisk. Even if I would eat a Storm, even if there are a bunch of Stalkers, 27 Mutas is so much, and that's the power of this threat. You can always transition, and as Protoss it really just all comes down to scouting, and not scout every 45 seconds. You're really gonna have to scout every 15 seconds. You wanna always be aware of this potential Muta transition. I should put myself on busy. I thought I always did that. Shame on me, Kevin. That's why I got highlights as well. And we can see that this Mutalisk army is just too much to deal with. If you don't have enough Phoenixes, if you don't have an insane amount of Storms / Archons, if your economy ever took a big blow, it is basically the end. And it is sick how this snowballs. It is really well executed by Andre, but it's also just overall a very, very strong transition that if you just keep your eye away from a Zerg base for 45 to a minute straight, this could happen, and once it happens, once you're just a little bit too late, it is so extremely hard to catch up. Moral of the story, never think you're fine, even if you're on 3-base Protoss, even if you think you're scouting. decently. Even if you've seen a lot of units, you want to see these units all the time. On this moment on, Greetor can basically just sacrifice an insane amount of units. He has a good bank, he knows that he can just fly in. Even if he trades Mutalisk for probes right now, which normally is not very effective, it would be effective because his economy is so much better. There's going to be a lot of storms. New Mutalisk are also so much better against storms anyways, because even if they're all so low on HP, he can just send them back to his base, and within a minute they will be pretty much full HP again. Just gonna fast forward from this point on, and after this we're not gonna focus on the high level replays anymore. We're gonna actually take a look at a couple of community replays. Now it's just yada yada yada, you run around the map. Of course, Protoss always hopes that with 2 or 3 Archon shots and 1 or 2 storms you can kill all the Mutalisk, but once you're playing on a high level, that is unlikely that that's going to happen. Yada yada yada, fast forward, fast forward. I like to watch these kind of replays just because I know that these are... I don't even think that Grubby made too many mistakes. I think he played a very good game actually. It is just that one single moment, if you lose your Phoenixes, if you don't have any Phoenix anymore to deal with Mutalisk, and you're gonna have to sit there and defend with a ground army, it's just so extremely tough to ever stabilize. There are a couple of Korean Protoss players who pull it off every now and then, and I casted a game once between MC and Nurture, which just made me scream because I couldn't believe how well MC was doing it. But that was Wings of Liberty, and in Harder to Swarm the Mutalisk are even a little bit better. So this game will end, and this is, I think, is a good lesson for all us Protoss players out there. Even when you think you're safe, even when you think stuff is going well and stuff was going well, never ever forget about that potential meta transition. It was good in Wings of Liberty, and we saw it coming, or we saw it become sort of like not a standard but pretty popular in the later stages of Wings, and now with HUTs it just became even more popular because the metas are simply better. That was fun. We could do another small commercial break, or I could do my first community replay. Okay, anyway, we're gonna do it like this. One more quick break, which allows me to drink a little bit of water, and then I'm gonna show 3 community replays. We have Diamond replays, we have Platinum replays, and one guy who's in Master League as well. I believe we have 2 PvPs and we have 1 PvZ. And I must say I'm actually pretty impressed, certainly with how one of the 2 games unfolded, where a lot of stuff really went well, as in like, wait, this is actually a pretty damn good level game, and then eventually see a couple of mistakes. So I want to help these guys out, I want to show these games. Should be fun. I'll be right back in 1 minute.